JavaScript is the programming language of the internet, and with it you can control how a web page behaves. So in this tutorial I'll show you how to get started with it and some JavaScript basics. The very first thing is, since JavaScript interacts with the web page, we should have a web page ready to go. So here's an example on the left of our basic web page, and on the right is how it looks in the browser. So to begin, to put our JavaScript in here, we want to put this at the bottom of the document right before the closing body tag. So here's the closing body tag. We should put our JavaScript on line 22 here. And the reason why is because we want the rest of the document to load so that our JavaScript can be aware of any tags that we reference prior to the browser interpreting that section of code. So to start our JavaScript section, we use the script tag. So just like this, I'm going to type the word script, and within this opening tag, I'm going to put type equals text/JavaScript. And what that tells the browser is that although we're going to type this as text, interpret this as JavaScript. I'm going to add my closing tag right now so that I can just edit what's in between. And for readability, I'll even add an extra line above the script. Okay, so to show you how this is going to work, what I can do here is I can access the document object model by typing the word document. And the document object model is set up here on line 1 as an HTML5 document. So it knows automatically the set of rules of HTML5 and what kind of elements it can have. So that's what this word means. And then I'm going to set the body style background color equals red. So within the document, I want to find the body and I want to change its style to the background color red. Now notice how this is different from CSS in that it's all one word and it follows the camel case convention of an upper letter character for every subsequent word joined together. So that's how we're going to start this. I'm going to go ahead and save the page and then reload it. And then notice how JavaScript just changed the color of the page from white to red, or basically the default color to red. I'm going to go ahead and cut this out and show you a few more ways to achieve a similar type effect. And we're going to manipulate the click me button now. So within the button and its opening tag, I'm going to add an on-click event by using the word onClick. And then we'll name the action button click. And we're going to follow that with an open and closing paren, so a set of parentheses. And what that indicates is that that's going to be an action that is going to be performed. So it's going to go down to this script section on the button click and find the function that we're about to write and run that code. So I'm going to use the word function here, and what that means is this is a block of code. And we're going to call it button click with a set of parentheses and some opening curly braces. The curly braces indicate this is the beginning and then this is the ending. This is a left-facing curly brace and a right-facing curly brace. And whatever we put inside of this, all of this will run anytime the browser runs into this single phrase button click. So it's almost like substitution, where this is a block of code that is symbolized by that name. Okay, so what I can do is I can just paste in what I cut earlier, which was to change the background color of the page to red, and this will only happen on the button click now, instead of when the page loads. So I'm going to go ahead and reload the page. It goes back to its default styles, and when I click this button that says click me, it should run the click me function. And it does. So the next thing that I might want to do is try to manipulate individual elements. So perhaps this element, this paragraph, has an ID of example ID. And the way that I could do that is I can say document. I'm just going to add more to the button click here and say document.get element by ID, and then name the ID, example ID. So I can find that, and I'm going to style the color of the text this time to equal white. And I'm going to put that in double quotes as well. And I just saved the page, so I'm going to reload it, and I'm going to click me. So now it found the element with the example ID. So I'm going to double click this to highlight it, and it changed that paragraph to white for me. Okay, now what if we wanted to add variables? Variables are something that might change or might be something that we would use in a condition that was true. So the way that's done in JavaScript, it's very easy. We're going to use the keyword var, and we're going to make a counter variable, a variable that counts for us. So I'm going to type var and then space counter equals 0. So I'm making this variable equal to 0 at the very start of running this. And I'm going to go ahead and take out this code that we put in our little function here, and I'm going to put in what's called a condition. And a condition is simply a decision that the computer can make for us. It's routing our code for us according to a certain test. So this test is going to be the counter variable, and to test it we have to say equals equals, so a double equals sign, 0. So whenever it equals whenever counter double equals 0, we're going to make it do something. And we'll just make it do exactly what it used to. And that was to turn the background color red and the text white of example ID. But when it's not equal to 0, well, let's make it equal to 1 in this little block here. And actually I'm going to say else if, because I'm going to add some more here. And I'm going to paste in what we had, but just change the values. So when it's equal to 1, we'll make the background blue, and we'll make the text color yellow. And we'll make one more else if the counter equals 2, and I'll paste in what I had, and again change the values. We'll make the background green on this one, and we'll make the font color of the example ID paragraph, we'll make it orange. Okay, so the way that this little decision block is going to run is that the first decision that becomes true is what it's going to run, and then it exits this block completely. It will not run the other conditions, it only runs the ones that are true, or the one that is true, I should say. So after it's done figuring that out, we're going to add 1 to our counter. So our counter, every time the button is clicked, the counter is first 0, then it's 1, and then it's 2, and then it'll become 3 eventually. So I'm going to go ahead and save the page and reload it, and I'm going to go ahead and click the button, and here it made it a red background with a white color, so it only ran this block, it skips the rest, and incremented the counter. I click it again, and here it made the background blue, it made this paragraph yellow. I know that's probably hard to see. And then if I click this one more time, this makes it green with an orange background here. Now if I click it one more time, it's going to stay green because it's now 3 as a value, so we need to reset that. So let's make another decision block down here. We'll say if counter is greater than 2, and we can just say counter equals 0, which returns it back to the beginning every time we increment past 2. And the reason why I actually don't need curly braces here because it only has one statement following the if. However, if I wanted to add something in the future, it's a good idea just to add them now so that if we wanted to do more in that circumstance, it's just easier to add. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. And for consistency, it also is more readable. All right, so now I'm going to reload the page and click through this. That's 1 click, 2 clicks, 3 clicks. And now if I click it again, it should return back to red and white. And it does. So now what if we wanted to change multiple elements on this page that share the class name example class? Well, to do that, I'm going to remove this decision block and put in something different. Since there's more than one element on this page, we're going to have to create a collection of items. So even though there's only 2 and that's kind of a small collection to have, it's definitely more than one, and therefore we're going to have to create what's called an array. And we're going to have to loop through that collection to change its elements. So the first thing that I want to do is in this button click function is create another variable called x. And that actually could be anything. We could name it anything we want. But x is going to refer to the document object model, and it's going to get elements, and that's plural, by class name. And the class name that we're going to look for is example class. So just like this, and notice that the E, the B, the C, and the N were all uppercase in get elements by class name, and that's important because this is a case-sensitive language. That it's going to return a whole bunch of elements. It's going to, or it's in this case 2 elements. It's a collection of whatever they found on the page, and now we can loop through that collection and change them all. So I'm going to create a new variable called I. I stands for integer. And then I'm going to use the for keyword to create a loop. A loop is basically repetitive code, something that the computer will repeat these instructions as long as the condition in between my parentheses here is true. So I'm going to say the loop is going to begin with I being 0. And then I, as long as it's less than the length of our collection, so the size of our collection, x.length, semicolon. And every time it repeats, we're going to increment I by 1. So I++ is going to increment I by 1 every time it repeats. So this left-facing curly brace will be the beginning, and this right-facing curly brace will be the end. So now I'm going to refer to this collection as x, and in square brackets I'm going to put I, and that means the first element in the collection, and the collection is indexed from 0 to however many it has. So the first element is going to be 0, the next is 1, the next is 2, and so on and so forth to however many the computer finds. And then I'm going to change its style property, just like before, and its background color. And I'm going to change that to red as well. Okay, so what we've done here is we've created a collection of elements on the page that share the example class attribute here. And then we're going to loop through that collection and change all of them to a background color of red. All right, so I've saved the page. Now I'm going to reload it in the browser, and I'm going to click Click Me. And that should result in changing paragraph 3 and 4 here to a red background color. So I just clicked Click Me, and there it is. Lastly, what if I wanted to reuse this JavaScript code in other web pages that I make? I wouldn't want to have to retype all this code again. What I can do is I can share this code by putting it in an external file. So I've actually made an example.js file that I can copy and paste this code into, and then all I have to do is link to it. So I'm actually going to take it out of this page and paste it in over here. I'm also going to format this so that it's more readable and save it. Now over here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add to the opening tag src, which stands for source. So I'm going to use the src keyword equals example.js. Okay, and then I'm going to click save. And this file now stores any JavaScript that I want to run on this page. And all I'm doing is basically linking to it. So I could use this same code on multiple web pages and have the same behavior. So I'm going to go ahead and reload the page. And just to test this out, I'm going to click the Click Me button. And there it is. And that's a short little tutorial to help you get started with JavaScript.